Welcome to another episode of Q&A with Pastor Andrew F. Carter. And today I have a very special guest, my assistant pastor and really good friend, Christian Robbins, here with me in the studio. And today we are going to just kind of have a conversation. It's going to be funny. It's going to be intellectual. It's going to be spiritually enlightening. And at the end of the day, we're going to point you guys to Jesus. If you guys would welcome in my good friend and brother, Christian Robbins. You guys in the comments section, welcome him in. But how are you doing today?
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. So thank you for having me, and I'm doing great.
Good. So right before we started rolling, we were talking a little bit about poop. And right out the gate, you want to repeat the story. So my daughter was here just a second ago, and my wife sensed via smell that she might have done the deed and decided to take her out. And then we proceeded to talk a little bit about bowel movements. And he shared a funny story about his twins. Would you like to share that with the people?
Absolutely. I mean, how can we not?
Right.
So we're sitting in public, and I'm holding my baby boy, and I literally start smelling poop. Normally, you see a face expression. You see, their bodies kind of jerking a certain way. And so I'm looking around like, where's this poop coming from? All of a sudden, I look down, it's all over my leg.
Wow.
In public.
Wow.
So there's people around me. I'm sure they're smelling it too.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all I can do about that at that point is just laugh.
Wow. So
I'm laughing now.
Who was the culprit? Who was it?
That was Christian, my boy.
Oh, it was CJ, Christian Jr.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got a similar story about poop. And then I promise you guys, we're going to get into the Jesus
We'll
stuff.
get over the poop.
We're going to get over it. But when I was playing college basketball, we had an away trip. And on away trips, you have to wear like a nice polo and you have to wear khaki pants. You got to be dressed real nice. And so as I was getting ready to go to the bus, I'm driving to the bus and I get a phone call and somebody has an SOS. They need help. Somebody who I know, they take old folks. They work at a senior center and they take old folks out. They're like an activities director. And the SOS was like, help. A lady fell getting into the bus. I need help getting her to her seat. And I'm like, I've got like 10 minutes, but it's right on my way. Let me swing by. So I swing in, I hop out. The lady's stuck in the door well. She's kind of sitting down. And so I climb around behind her. I get up underneath her. And this lady probably weighs, 350, maybe 400 pounds. So I put my back and my strength into it and I pull her up. I walk backwards and I set her in her seat. And when I sat her down, the whole front of my khakis and my dress shirt were covered in, let's just say, human excrement. Not only the poor lady fell, but she also used the restroom and had a leak in her adult diaper. And I had to then take off my clothes and run to Old Navy, grab a new pair of khakis. And I was late to the bus, but I was like calling my coach. I'm like, Coach, you won't believe what happened. And I was trying to tell him the story. He didn't believe me. He was just like, how does this actually happen? But I made the bus. We got to the game. We got the win. It was a story that I'll never forget.
You'll never forget.
I'll never forget.
I mean, look at what triggered that. Talking about babies.
And diapers, right? And blowouts.
Absolutely.
It happens to not only children, but adults as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is where we're going to put in an ad for like depends. Like depends. But
I mean, has it ever happened to you?
No comment. We're just going to keep this rolling. Let me ask you this. How has encountering Jesus personally impacted your life or worldview? Like, what has Jesus done for you in the way that you see the world?
A lot.
Okay.
And I know that that's like such a direct, straight answer, but there's so much that I can sit here and talk about that Jesus has done for me. And if we're going to take it back into what is it that how he's impacted me the most is just saving me from myself, saving me from the self-destruction that I was heading into. I was in a very dark place, and I grew up knowing about Jesus. I grew up Catholic, and I can tell you that it was never the same as it is now. I've never had the encounter then that I have with Jesus now. And I mean, man, it's making me think about all these thoughts, right? Like all these memories of like where I was. And I mean, I was a person that couldn't smile because I was that heavy. I felt like I literally had pressure on me all the time. I was self-isolated, and Jesus literally pulled me out of all of that. It was just this time where like I knew that I needed God in my life, like fully. I needed to surrender whatever it was that I was holding on to.
That's good. That's good. If you guys were to look at Christian, he does not look like what he's been through. And I think that that's why, I'm drawn to the guy. I think that he's an amazing man. He's a great servant at our church, but he's an even better friend. But Christian and I send memes back and forth to one another via social media. Many of them are appropriate. Some of them are borderline, right? There's nothing like that's not godly or embarrassing. I'd probably send it to a lot of people, but we send memes back and forth. But when you're talking about what God rescued you from, you might look at Christian, but you would never know that he used to listen to the Dog Pound and to Snoop and to Warren G. This guy, you look at him now, right? I'm not trying, like he's got, he's look at the smile on his face. Like this is the nicest guy. He probably wouldn't harm a fly. You'd have no idea. But behind those glasses and that smile is a gangster, just an absolute gangster. Tell the people a little bit about the life that God rescued you from.
Life. Well, I mean, growing up, it was one of those.
Where'd you grow up? Tell us about the mean streets of where you.
Let's go. So I grew up in North Hollywood, California. Woo. And North Hollywood, California at the time was filled with, everything gangster, everything, everything graffiti, everything trouble. And so I was never the type of person that would look for trouble. And I always said this to myself, like trouble found me. Oh. And the reason why I say that is because I lived in a home that was just like pure, like hostile. That doesn't even make sense, right? It was just a hostile environment. And everything that I wasn't able to do at home, the way I wasn't able to express myself or even get physical because of, it was just allowed. Yeah. And so I would take all of that and pour it out on, whoever crossed my path.
Wow. And that sounds sinister. We got Bane out here.
I mean,
whoever crossed his path. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was just not something that I'm proud of. Yeah. If anything, I've repented from all of that. Yeah. And yeah, I mean that's the real raw situation. Yeah. I grew up in I was just around situations where, as you said, nobody would have thought at my age now with kids. And I feel like I knew back then that God was already guiding me to where I'm at, to where he's brought me, because I knew that wasn't the life that I wanted.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. We're not what we've gone through. And that's one of the things that I like to emphasize is like our past and what we've gone through do not define us. We're new creations in him. And I think that the goal is to not look like that. I love that people many times are shocked by my story or the things that I've gone through, because I don't wear that on my sleeve. It's not a badge of honor. The places I've been, the things I've seen, I don't wear that. I want people to think that it's soft. Like I want people to think that I'm a square. I love that people like, oh, like he's a nice guy. And I'm not a product of what I've gone through. Yes, I've gone through some pretty challenging things. I've been in some pretty challenging places, but it's almost like a nod or an ode to Jesus. It's like, that's what Jesus can do. He can take the broken, and he can take the hurt, and he can take the misunderstood and discarded, and he can make something beautiful out of it. No longer like doomed to repeat the past or to what impact our children in the same way. Absolutely. I talk about that as a dad. How has following the Lord changed the way that you parent?
It changed so much because growing up in the environment that I did, you tend to bring these generational curses with you that you don't acknowledge, that just kind of sneak up on you, just like pride. And so encountering Jesus, it has taught me to be a more loving parent, father, a more loving husband, and a more loving human being. And I think that that's a reflection now to my children, and they can see that where they praise the Lord themselves. They don't have to go through the things that I went through because the Lord rescued me, because Jesus rescued me. Had Jesus not rescued me, I think that I probably would have been just projecting some of my hurt onto them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's, as a parent, that's all of our goal and desire is like, we learn so much from our parents. you can either learn like the good parts or the bad. I think that I take from my dad how not to be a father, right? Like he was absent. He wasn't a great human being. He was many times just gone, right? And so I use that as an example of what I don't want to be like. But then I look at my mom, and despite her character flaws and the issues she's gone through, she's probably one of the most resilient people that I know. Being a drug addict, at one point in her life, selling drugs in her body to make a living, right? She has always gotten up and has always pressed forward. And so I look at my mom as like the face and picture of resilience and constantly getting back up. And I think that that's why I'm somebody who, like, regardless of what I've gone through, I've constantly gotten back up and tried to get back on the right track because I've witnessed my mom do it over and over. That's good.
That's amazing. And if I may,
there you may.
Pastor Andrew is one of the. I just gotta do that. I gotta do this. I gotta do this.
This is the worst part.
Pastor Andrew has the biggest heart that you'll ever know. He's for the people. He loves people truly. He's intentional about the time that he gives you, and intentional about the, just the conversations that you would have with him. And I just wanted to point that out.
Yep.
Because as you said, what the world discards, Jesus restores.
Come on.
And you can see it here.
That's a word. I don't do well with taking compliments.
I don't either.
It drives me crazy. I'm like, I don't like it. But I appreciate it and thank you. And in the same vein, I'll just say that you have been an amazing friend and confidant, somebody who I can count on. The church here in Inglewood, Royal City Church, where he is an assistant pastor, is growing and it's thriving. And he has come alongside this ministry and has lightened the load when it comes to social media, when it comes to our online ministry. He has been a tremendous help with my wife as well. And so we appreciate you and the sacrifice that you make, knowing that you have a family, knowing that he lives in Calabasas. So he travels all the way to Inglewood to be a part of what we're doing here and has been just a huge part of what we're accomplishing. What kind of questions? Do you have any questions for me? Is there anything that you would want to know from a pastor's perspective? This is me putting you on the spot. Like, I know you didn't come in with any questions.
I did
prepared.
not come in with any questions.
No, anything off the top of your head?
Well, something that sticks out a lot is that you see people for who they are, but then you have this way of loving on them, and you're not discarding them. Mm-hmm. So what is it that gives you the strength and the ability? Because there's so many people that come to you all the time with questions and with problems. How are you able to manage that with so much going on, behind the scenes, with so much going on as a pastor, as a husband, as a father, speaking events? How do you manage being able to give intentional time to all these people?
That's good. That's a great question. But first off, I recognize it because I've been discarded. I've been counted out. I've had people kind of turn their back on me. I've been an underdog in different situations. And I know what it's like when people just kind of dismiss you because what I found here in Los Angeles specifically is that most relationships and friendships are superficial or they're transactional. Right? Not very many people just want to rock with you because they want to rock with you. I got my boy Curtis here in the studio too. And he's somebody who, from the first time I went and played basketball, I'm shooting hoops, and he just was like, came over and was super welcoming. And I've watched him welcome everybody who stepped foot in that gym as like an OG in the gym. Like he's one of the best players, if not the best player who shows up at basketball, but is like the kindest and is always a light. He's always shining his light. He's always going and introducing himself, welcoming people in and making them feel comfortable. And I was like, I got to rock with this dude. That's why he's sitting here today, because it's an authentic friendship. He's never wanted anything. He's never got his hand out. He's just down to kick it. And so there's not a lot of that in Los Angeles. A lot of people, it's transactional. And so I see these relationships where people just want to be seen. They just want to connect. They just want to feel like they belong to something greater than themselves. And so because of that, I try to be intentional and make time for people. And again, it's hard with a church plant, with a new baby, a wife. I got 3 kids that I got to go see every month in another state that I like to do. It's challenging, but I always stand by the fact that we make time for the things that are important to us, right? Too many people make excuses on why they can't rather than focusing on a way to make it happen. So I try to use that mindset of like, okay, I'm going to be intentional and make time for the important things because they're just that, they're important. If they're important to God, they got to be important to me.
And that is exactly what makes a leader.
With all these compliments, man, you're killing me, bro. I don't know if I'm going to invite you back. I don't know if you're coming back to the second episode.
I can't help it.
I'm turning red, okay? I'm turning red. So for the people out there, would you tell the people how it is that we got connected, how you got connected with our ministry?
Absolutely. So the first time that I met you was over at an event in Malibu.
That's right.
And at the time, you were part of a ministry and that I got connected with. We were doing coffee and prayer already, and you invited, whoever was in Los Angeles to go and meet you up there. And so I did. And I remember I got a text from you and you were like, hey, can you bring some wood?
Firewood, yeah.
And I'm like, I want some wood. Like, I don't know what that means. Let me ask him. So I think I asked you like, okay, what is the wood for or whatever. And then you were like, we're having like fire bongs or something like after service. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I go and I buy like all of these like loads of firewood and I needed a dolly to.
I remember that.
Yeah. So, I'm like, how am I going to get this through the sand? Like, that's going to be crazy. And so, yeah. And so we met there and right out the bat, like you were so welcoming. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, this is good. I feel good. I felt welcome. I felt like, it was a start of a good relationship, even though it was just the first time. Yeah. But I've already been, we've been in contact already through coffee and prayer and stuff. But I believe that it was all intended for God's purposes.
Yeah, I agree. I have to 100% agree. It's funny because we didn't even use the firewood, all that firewood that you brought. We had this big event in Malibu, and the ministry that I was a part of, I absolutely loved them. But it's, God, this is going to sound sexist, but I'm going to rock with it. It's ran by women and the Holy Spirit. And so when you get women on the Holy Spirit, the event starts at 6. Didn't start till 7. It was supposed to end at 8:30 before the sun goes down. Well, it didn't end until 9:30 because they were just going with the Spirit. It was an amazing event. Loved the event. But when you're in those situations, sometimes as a man, I'm looking at my clock like we're an hour behind. Like we should have started an hour ago. It's 9 o'clock. We should have ended. When are we going to do? Long story short, everybody was tired. The bonfire event, it was supposed to be a men's like bonfire bonding situation. We were tired. We were just like, appreciate you bringing the firewood and spending the money. And multiple guys brought firewood. Yep. We ended up just dipping. But I
think the bonding was carrying the firewood to the location.
There's something. So that's the last thing that I want to talk about. As men, you've been surrounded. You're a part of our men's groups and the things that we do. You're talking about bonding, carrying the firewood. And my next guest, David's going to be on in just a minute. You told me the other day that you were inspired by how David and myself approach physical fitness. Because look, you're in the 40-year-old club, right? How old are you?
I'm not going to answer that.
No, but it's over 40. It's over 40. He's in the 40 over club. And I'm knocking on the door in August. I'll be 40 myself. I know you guys can't tell, and I don't look it. But my friend David is in the same situation. He's in the 40-year-old club, and dude does 100 pull-ups plus pull-ups a day, push-ups. He's fit. And so we being intentional have inspired you. How important is it in your life to start being more physically fit? And how is it that men bond, or is it important that men of God, bond over physical fitness?
So I'll go ahead and answer. I am 41 years old. So
dang. He's old. No, bro. No, go ahead.
Okay. And it's inspired me because there was a season in my life where I was just kind of like, I don't need to work out. I don't need to do this because, I'm walking, I'm working, I'm doing this and that. And I felt like that was physical. But then being around you guys and you guys literally displaying what a warrior of God should look like in the physical, it's inspired me to like get up and do my walks. I got an exercise bike. Nice. I'm doing push-ups now. Okay. So I'm starting to feel like I'm 20 mentally, but I'm not there physically.
And that back in the morning, just like I'm 42, 41.
Yeah. And so I think it's important. I think it's important that we as men encourage others to get up and do better.
Yeah.
If we're going to be on this mission of making Jesus more known, not only should we do it spiritually by reading our Bibles every single day, but we should do it physically as well, because the Bible does tell us to take care of our temples.
Yeah.
Because that's where the Holy Spirit resides.
I like how you plugged your shirt, Make Jesus More Known, Inglewood, California. You guys can get the shirt, link in my bio. No, I'm just kidding. It's not in my bio, but it might be in his. But he was like, we got to make Jesus more known. You know what I mean?
I wasn't even thinking about
No,
that.
but I saw the plug. That was slick. That was solid. I'm with it. I've got a shirt. I've worn it, and actually in one of these Q&As, and this is who I got it from. But I couldn't agree with you more. I think one of the most disheartening and challenging things to see is that people from the pulpit will preach, your body's a temple, don't get tattoos, you got to live this way, here's the Bible, but they're 400 pounds and morbidly obese and a cheeseburger away from a heart attack. And I'm not poking fun, I'm not diminishing the impact of their ministry, but there's got to be a balance. One of the worst experiences I had as a public health major is I had a nutrition teacher. And the nutrition teacher would drink Mountain Dew during her nutrition lectures and would go out and smoke cigarettes on her breaks. Wow. And was an individual who was somewhat obese. Now, I can't say that because she did those things she didn't know about nutrition. She was just reading the curriculum. But it was a poor representation of what it was that she was trying to present. I couldn't get past. I'm like, how can I listen to this person who does not exhibit the things that they're trying to teach me? And in the same way, as a Christian, a follower of Jesus, how can we expect people to live up to a certain level or a certain standard when we're not doing the same thing? It's mind, body, and spirit. So you get these people who are wagging their finger at us or other people about the way that they're living, but they have an inappropriate relationship with food. They sloth and what is the other one? Gluttony. Those are deadly sins. They might have everything else in their life in order, but they don't take care of their physical temple. What they're telling me many times falls on deaf ears because it's null and void. I can't get past the presentation. Now, is that shallow, superficial? I don't know. I got to work that out with fear and trembling between me and the Lord. But when I see somebody who doesn't practice what they preach in all aspects of their life, many times that word dies.
Absolutely. And so it goes back to a lot of things that we could be doing in life and how we're leading people. I mean, if we're telling our kids to do one thing and we're not living by that, they're watching us do the total opposite. Exactly. Then, we're just asking them to do the things that we want to see them do, but we're not exemplifying that for them. So the same thing goes for a pastor. Same thing goes for a teacher of the word. And so, yeah, you agree.
Yeah, you got your kids in the back seat and you're like, stop fighting with your brother and sister, but you're fighting with your wife. Absolutely. Or you're telling them, you need to stop talking poorly about so-and-so, but you're like, can you believe they would wear that to church? Like they hear the hypocrisy, and then we wonder why kids don't want to go to church is because they're witnessing hypocrisy from the back seat. Put on your Sunday best, don't say anything, don't do this. We've got these set of rules. We want them to put that on, pretend everything's good, but then you guys are in the car fighting over whether or not you're going to Mexican or Italian for lunch. Like it's a whole crazy
Who's
thing.
driving?
Who's driving, right? So last thing as we close, if you could give one message to the people in 30 seconds or less, I want you to look at that camera right there. That's your camera. And if this was your deathbed, right? By the grace of God, you're 99 years old. Your kids have been married. You got grandkids. You're surrounded by loved ones. And you've got one message to the world. Look in that camera and what would you tell the world?
My message to the world is to know the victory that's been given to you through Jesus Christ and walk in that victory. Because when you allow yourself to live in worry, live in fear, you're basically diminishing the presence of God in your life.
That's it. That's a mic drop. I love that. That's good. That's a word. I appreciate you. I appreciate you being on today. I know this is out of yeah, for sure. But listen, you guys, I just want to thank you for joining us for another episode of Q&A with Pastor Andrew F. Carter. A little different today, but I believe that the stories, some of the illustrations and the things that we talked about, I hope that they were encouraging or a blessing to you. As I have more guests on, I would love for you guys to let us know some conversation topics. What are things you want us to talk about, maybe address? That would be good in a setting like this. But before you guys go, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications. I know some of y'all ain't getting the notifications. Turn on your notifications so you know when these videos drop. And do me a favor, share this with at least one person that you love. Sharing is caring. And what we're talking about, even the dirty stuff, even the the poop stories. They might bless somebody out there. You just might not know. I hope that you guys have an amazing rest of your day. And until next time, see you guys later.